So we're good.
I'd like to bring this meeting to order, the Zebulon Board of Commissioners work session from November 21st, 2024. First, we will need an approval of the agenda.
I would actually like to add a short discussion of the benefits package to the agenda, please.
Insurance benefits package.
May I ask a question? It's in the budget. It's discussed. What do we need to discuss about it?
Can we just put it in there and then we can have that, I mean.
And that would go under
New business, item B, if approved.
B. Is there a motion to approve the amended agenda?
We don't have a second to amend the agenda.
Second.
Any further discussion?
You can ask your question.
Well, I asked her, I mean, it's not going up, but if you need to discuss it. But I don't want us to postpone the insurance.
No, I think it'll just be a short discussion.
Any further discussion? Second. All in favor? Motion passes. Presentation. Wake County Parks and Recreation.
Good evening, Mayor and members of the board. We have with us this evening Chris Snow. He is the Wake County Parks, Recreation, and Open Space Director, and he is going to share some insight with you about the different initiatives that Wake County has been working on to acquire land and to secure open space in Wake County, as well as here in the Eastern Wake area. And I'm going to turn it over to Chris now, and we'll be available to answer questions as well. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I appreciate you having me out. I appreciate your interest in our open space program. Got a few slides to get through, but I will do them expeditiously. I know you have an agenda to get through tonight. So just What we're going to talk about tonight is the history of our program, the funding sources that we use, how we select a project. We have a GIS model and then a request for properties and RFP process that I can tell you about. And then a little bit about where we're going with our program right now. So as far as history, we got started back in the 90s. For those of you who are around in this area at that time, really quickly growing area. At that particular time, we were losing 27 acres of land. It was being converted from a natural state to a built state. Whether that was residential or commercial, didn't really matter. It was just changing out of a natural state. And at that time, about 41% of the county was developed. So the commissioners instituted, the Wake County Board of Commissioners instituted an open space task force. In the early 90s, they came back with a report and some recommendations on how to conserve some of the land in Wake County. That changed into an open space advisory committee a little bit later on, again with more recommendations about what to do. We did our first open space bond in 2000 to allow us to start acquiring land, to start implementing some of the goals of the two reports. That was for $15 million. In 2003, the Open Space Advisory Committee and our Parks Advisory Committee merged into one, the Open Space and Parks Advisory Committee, OSAPAC for short. And we did our first consolidated open space plan in 2003 also. It was updated in 2006. The consolidated open space plan was, I think, unique in that we funded all the municipalities, including Zebulon, to do their own open space plan. And then each of the municipalities' plans were consolidated into one countywide plan. So just looking at what, at a very high level, what our plan does is a very specific goal is to protect 30% of the county's land area, or 165,000 acres. That can be preserved in different ways. That can be preserved through regulations. So if you think about development regulations or watershed regulations, it can also be done through land development processes. If you think about an open space subdivision or a cluster subdivision, and then there are those lands that we would acquire for parks, for conservation areas. All of that fits under an umbrella goal of protecting and conserving the county's land and water resources for current and future generations. So what is open space and why is it important to us? So for the county, the importance in open space is the value as natural resources and wildlife habitat, forest and farmland, venues for outdoor recreation, historical and cultural properties, scenic landscapes, and riparian corridors. The riparian corridors are what a lot of people hung as a big goal for us in the water quality aspect. We have bought a lot of land in the water supply watersheds around Wake County, Falls Lake, Jordan Lake, Little River. And so the water quality aspect and protecting the land around a water supply became really important to us. To date, with just our program, we've acquired almost 10,000 acres of land across the county. County funds expended about $106 million. We have leveraged that with partner dollars, about $50 million worth of partners. If you do the math on that, we're buying land for about $15,000, $16,000 an acre. That is quickly escalating as development pressure increases. One of the unique things we did several years ago was to start opening some of our open space. We had acquired a lot of land, and one of our commissioners at the time, Tony Gurley, was like, what is the public benefit of all of this? You know, clean water, clean air, we understand. but let's open this land to the public, and we did. And so that's the 3 nature preserves we have, all of which are in Eastern Wake, and hopefully you've enjoyed those. Talk a little bit about funding. Again, we use a lot of different kinds of funding, but the majority of our funding comes through general obligation bonds that the voters have approved. I mentioned the first one in 2000. We did one in 2004, 2007. Those 3 totaled $91 million. Our most recent bond in 2018, open space was a component of that, but it also included parks, recreation, greenways, so it included a wide variety of things. There's a little bit of an echo. I hear it. I keep moving this back, so maybe that'll help. So our last bond, $120 million. Of that, $20 million was focused on open space. So, and I put the voter approval up there just in case you were curious. We have had strong support for our bonds in the past, as have a lot of the municipalities in the area up until this last year. Other sources, county cash. There have been some funds that came directly out of the county's budget. There are also state and federal grants. We have SALT and partners. One of our biggest partners in the area is the Triangle Land Conservancy. We do a lot with them. I put state programs under partners. They are also the big sources of grants for us as well. But the reason I stuck them under partners is if you take state money or federal money, there's a monitoring component to that. And so they come on your property, they make sure you're doing what you're doing, and they hold you accountable. So it is more of a partnership. It's not just here's the money, thank you very much. So I just kind of wanted you to know that. One of the best things we did with regard to purchasing open space was we developed a GIS model. Prior to the model, we did everything ad hoc. If we found out that someone was interested in selling land, say Commissioner Baxter wanted to sell her farm, we would reach out to you, we would negotiate a deal, and we would do a deal if we could reach an agreement. But we might not know that Commissioner Clark also wanted to sell land. So we kind of took them as they came, one-offs, through probably the first 10 years of acquiring land. But what the GIS model really did for us, we got a bunch of staff together from all disciplines in the county. We talked about what was important to us for conserving open space. And we really wanted a model that could quantitatively look at land. We could use different criteria, we could prioritize that criteria, and that criteria would allow us to rank and weight different parcels. So now I can compare Commissioner Baxter's farm to Commissioner Clark's farm and make the best choice with the monies we had. So we fed all this into our GIS, and we were able to score parcels all across the county. These are the criteria that we use. There's a lot up there. I won't read all of them, but just to hit the high level, water quality again was very important to us. We looked at water supply watersheds. We also looked at wetlands and headwater streams and those kinds of things. I'm going to skip over parcel size for just a minute and talk about species and habitat. The state of North Carolina, many years ago, came up with a 1 million acre initiative. It was a goal to protect 1 million acres all across the state of North Carolina. And as a part of that, they developed a biodiversity index that ranked based on plants, animal species, those kinds of things. So we use state data for our species and habitat. And then location. If you think about a parcel of land that we might be interested in that, say, there was already open space nearby and we could connect to it, or there was a plan that showed a greenway on the property in the future, that made it more valuable to us because it had already been studied and looked at and was a part of a plan. Going back to parcel size, we looked at all of those and said, well, you know, if you've got a 25-acre parcel that'll do all of that, but a 100-acre parcel that'll do all that, maybe bigger is better, and we would go after the 100-acre parcel simply because it was larger. So this is a map that was generated out of our model. This is a 2019 map, so it's already very dated, and I'll talk about why 2019 in just a bit. But as you look at this map, the darker the purple, the higher the conservation value for the county. You notice there's a lot of dark purples in Eastern Wake, Southern Wake, the very far edge of Western Wake where Jordan Lake snakes into Wake County, and then of course up around Falls Lake. The lighter the color, that's a less conservation value, and so you can almost tell, bless you, where downtown Raleigh is and all the developed land, high-rise subdivisions, those kinds of things really weren't interested. We weren't interested in those for conservation. So.
Lake Gov and drill down to look at, say, a specific area to see, or?
So the model that I'm talking about is used on the staff side. It's
Okay.
not available on our website for the general public to use. It is just one of the tools we use in evaluating open space. If there was some interest in parcels out here, I could share data with you. If you gave me an area or a region, that would not be a difficult thing to do.
Awesome, thank you.
And I didn't mention that earlier. If you have questions, please stop me and I'll do my best. So we got the model. Now we have to get out to the landowners. We have to know you're interested in selling. So what we did was, and this is not a new concept, government has used RFP processes, requests for proposals, for a long time. But we renamed ours a request for property. So we take the model and we sort it by rank and score. And so I know what the highest conservation parcels are across the county. And I send you letters because I have your information from the GIS database, our parcel database. And so again, before this, we were taking them one-offs. Again, if Commissioner Harrison wanted to sell her farm, and Commissioner Miles did too, I really couldn't compare or contrast your farms or your property. With the GIS model, I can. And so the goal of this was to lay all of the parcels out we were interested in, to know whether you were willing and interested in selling, and to evaluate that and bring it back to the commissioners for a recommendation on acquiring or not. So it let us reach out to you. We acquire fee simple ownership of property. We also acquire conservation easements. So, you know, you could sell either or. We also wanted to make sure that everybody knew that this was a voluntary program. Just because you were getting a letter from the county, we were not coming to take your land. We do not condemn land for parks and open space in the county. And we also want people to know that our funding is limited. You saw the bonds, and once a bond is done, then we have to wait for a new bond. And so we run out of money sometimes. And so that we just want everybody to understand that this was not an infinite pot of money that we had going. So basically what we did was we would identify your parcel in the model. We would send you a letter. You would mark it up and send it back. And we would also send you a map of your property as well. So I'm interested in selling all of it. I want to sell part of it. I want to sell a conservation easement. And we would evaluate those and rank those as to what was important to staff. And then we would take them to our Open Space and Parks Advisory Committee for review, and then to the Board of Commissioners for approval. I mentioned the map was from 2019. 2019 was the last RFP process we did. Our bond was approved in 2018. So we did the process in 2019, and we sent letters out, and we had 253 positive responses. Yes, I would like to sell my land, or a portion of my land, or a conservation easement on my land. Almost 7,000 acres of land in Wake County, tax value, mind you, tax value of $152 million. If you remember back to one of the early slides, we only had 20 million. So then it becomes work your way down the list. We send letters out to more people than we have money because we know we're going to lose some deals. We will miss some deals. People will sell to a developer. Their kids will inherit and decide not to sell. There's lots of things that can happen in a land acquisition deal. So we always err on the side of sending more letters than we have money. So again, I'll jump back to the goal of our open space program, the 30% goal, 165,000 acres. Again, regulation, land development process, or acquired for parks or conservation. Currently, if you look at the map up there, that's about 114,000 acres, or about 69% of our goal, of the 30% goal. So we're
And those are
making
in green,
progress.
right?
Yes, the green. And you can see most of that, down around Sharon Harris. A lot of that is protected because of the nuclear power plant. It's leased to the Wildlife Resources Commission as a hunting resource up around Falls Lake. You'll notice Umstead State Park sticks out very prominently. But then if you look towards eastern Wake County, and I think I've got the last slide is a little zoom in, Wendell Zebulon area, the darker green is what we've been able to acquire. Some of that for, again, our nature preserves like Turnip Seed and Sandy Pines, Robertson Mill Pond, but then also a future county park out here, Lake Myra, which is under design now. So that is the last slide I have. I ran through those pretty quick, I know, but I'm happy to answer any questions that anybody has.
Any questions, comments from the board?
Now, at one point, I went to a proposed county park kind of event in Wendell,
Okay.
and that listed the different preserves that they were considering following. And it was my understanding that the area surrounding Little River Park was kind of high up there on the prioritization list for future development. And so I see that there's like a little bit of that so far set aside, and like what are we looking at as far as future county involvement with those areas around?
Little River?
Yeah.
Okay. So Little River, most of the land in Little River, almost 2,600 acres, was purchased by the county on behalf of the city of Raleigh for a future water supply watershed. I'm probably not telling you anything you don't already know.
Right.
Since then, and you have to go back a few years, the reservoir originally was scoped to be a water supply watershed, pumping water by 2018. That has long passed. The city of Raleigh got a reallocation in Falls Lake, which allowed them to pull more water out of Falls Lake, which changed their plans a little bit for Little River. I did talk with a public utilities representative the other day, Ed Buchan, you may know Ed, and they are still reevaluating Little River for what the future is. You are correct that we did a concept plan for a nature preserve around Little River. We were getting a lot of requests from the public. All this open space land is just sitting here right now. It's not a reservoir. It's not going to be a reservoir anytime soon. Could we do some type of recreational aspects on it. So what we did was a concept plan, which is not a full-blown master plan, but just some ideas out. The commissioners, the county commissioners were very interested in that, and so we spun up a concept plan for that. We do not have any funding for that. It was not a project that was included in our 2018 bond, so likely anything that is developed at Little River would come in a future bond.
But it's not off the table as far as consideration.
It is not.
Okay.
There may be those of you in the room who were contacted. There was opposition of the concept plan from the farming community around Little River. It's a very tight-knit group, do a lot of great work. There's a lot of county land in Little River that is leased to farmers. We've had that relationship for years. But they were a little, how is this going to impact my farming? You know, the public so close to a working farm. And so those are things that we would have to look at. But no, ma'am, it's not off the table.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Comments? Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
Old business, Parks and Rec, strategic plan grants.
Good evening again. We have returned to you with some information regarding the strategic plan grant process. Just as a quick review for yourselves as well as the members of the public, your current policy recognizes that you only have $5,000 available and that grants were eligible up to $1,000 per organization, and that you must meet a strategic plan focus area to be considered. You must be available or must be a 501c3 organization that's been operating for 2 years, as well as covering operating expenses and not capital expenses. As a general overview, in March at your work session, there was discussion amongst the board about increasing the budget for the strategic plan grants. At your June work session, the board adopted a budget that increased the budget for these grants to $25,000. If you recall, you had already released a grant process in January of that year, or of this year, for the original $5,000, and you awarded that $5,000 in September for regular meeting, or at your regular meeting, to 5 organizations. At your September work session, there was direction provided from the board for updating the grant to reflect the increased budget, with the remaining budget of $20,000. The work session feedback that we received was priority projects will include services to youth and seniors, transportation, education enhancements to meet grade level expectations, and family health. The grant can be used to help startups to help accomplish the town's vision. The grant will be a resource to help organizations seeking to fill service gaps. Projects will offer a direct impact that can be seen, and organizations that are awarded should be able to provide project updates. Additional feedback included there should be data and metrics to measure success, consideration to support and or encourage participation of Zebulon's Hispanic population or engagement of them, as well as offering 5 $2,000 grants and 2 $5,000 grants is how you wanted to distribute the $20,000. You wanted more opportunity to review and consider applicants, as well as having opportunity for community members to serve on the scoring committee. We've remained with the same proposed timeline that we talked about in September, with presenting this draft to you this evening. You received this in draft form a few weeks ago. We've also done a legal review, and it was in your agenda packet for your discussion tonight, and I'm happy to go through different aspects of it. The goal was to have discussion tonight, make any changes. As long as they're minor changes, we should be able to return to you at your December regular meeting. If there's substantial changes, it may take us a little bit longer to be able to make those changes and get it back to you if it's going to require, especially if it requires legal. The goal has been to release the application in January and host an informational meeting to bring forward nonprofit presentations in March, where then you could have a discussion and selection at your March work session and award grants at your April regular meeting, which is a little bit different than what you've done in years past, because when in years past you were accepting applications for funding that you were going to award in the next fiscal year. And so this year you have funding now, and so you're going through the applications and you are funding it when you receive the grants. So I'm available to answer any questions that you have with the draft that was provided to you, and take any feedback that you would like to share. So in your packet, you do have the draft that reflects the changes and the recommendations of the board. I will point out that as far as the scoring committee, I want to make sure y'all picked up on that. Our recommendation is that each member of the board assign or be able to pick someone to serve on that committee. And then you each have a representative. So that's what, it wasn't a staff is going to do it, it's we're gonna work as a liaison to the committee, and they'll be able to score the applications as they come in. It will be a blind process, and so any markers as far as names of the organizations or names of people or names of specific projects would be removed. And then so it's just a very blind process, and it's based on the merits of the application.
Moving into this first communities scoring group, there's going to be 6?
Yeah, I would think that you would want to include the mayor.
I just want to know what the number was, you know, like what that expectation was as far as the number of folks. Okay. And so then we would put out a request for applications in December or in January?
A request for applications for the grant would be in January if you adopt this process in December.
Okay.
You weren't talking about the committee, right?
No, I was just
Okay.
talking about just letting the community see what the application looks like and to start that whole process.
Yeah. So our goal is definitely to have that informational meeting, release the grant, and offer an information meeting. Some people might not have the experience with grant processes or working with government in a grant process, and to make sure that there's plenty of opportunity to explain it and for people to ask questions. But it's also a great opportunity for us to network and get some feedback on what the nonprofit community is looking for as they're continuing to serve our community.
Can you make sure that the commissioners all have copies of those applications so that we can make sure that they get out to the nonprofits in the community? Because I know last time we missed a few people that had applied in the past, or a few organizations that have applied in the past, and I would like that not to happen. So if you know, it would be great for us to have a few applications we could just go in hand to organizations.
Now, choosing the folks that's going to be on the committee, is there any, I didn't see any language in there, or maybe it was and I missed it, about if you're going to be on the scoring committee, then you shouldn't be applying for a grant or be involved in the grant process?
That's in the in the draft.
Okay.
So it says that you cannot be an applicant or be on the board of an organization that is an applicant.
Okay.
I'm trying to look and see if I can tell you
Yeah.
the page number.
I just kind of want to make that clear
It is in there.
because it would be easy for someone to be grading their own.
Yes, so on page 6, it says the committee will have 6 members and a staff liaison. Each commissioner and the mayor will select someone to participate on the committee, and the committee members may not be an applicant or have a leadership role in an organization with an application being considered.
We good with that?
Yes. Just one thing. I would ask that there be some kind of language. There's one question in the population to be served that says, does the entity have a proven track record over time of contributions? And if they're a new nonprofit that is applying for the grant, then they won't have a proven track record. So I don't know if we can add something that says not applicable or something like that, but just a way to identify if this is going to be like the application, then something that can identify if they're, so they don't lose points for being new and applying for a grant.
Off the top of my head, do you have the page number so I can refer to it?
13. Oh, in the packet. I don't know if that's the, I'm looking at my packet, not the, yeah.
Well, what I printed is not.
I think it doesn't it differentiate if you don't score a certain score, you can only be eligible for a certain amount? Or is that different?
You're looking on the matrix. Is that correct? Okay,
Yeah.
because I printed this from, not with the agenda packet. So
Yeah.
my page numbers are different.
Yeah, I'm looking at, it's just the wording of it. Like, I get because the question and then the ratings is gonna, be like 1, 2, 3, 4, how many of the questions were answered. And if that, I just don't want that to take away from someone scoring if they're a new nonprofit and they don't have a proven track record or how their project could benefit the town if they haven't done any projects.
Isn't it indicated somewhere in there if this is your first time applying for?
Yes, sir. It is in there, but it could also take points off for this section if it's not. So,
Them scoring lower than they should.
right. I mean, and just that, just that one section, it can take points. So there is a section that says, are you a new organization? But I don't know if that's something that needs to be addressed, but that's just the only thing I caught.
I think that's up to y'all. The intent here is, I think that you want to have it as an opportunity for new organizations to apply. At the same time, an organization that is established and has some track record will more than not that one that's new is not going to be reliable, but you have a track record of more reliability. And so it would score higher the way this is written. But if you don't want that taken into consideration, because they're still eligible,
With
it
other
would just
questions.
mean, yeah, there are other eligibilities where you can yes to 1 question, yes to 2, or yes to 3. And so it would be 1 point if they can't answer that they don't have a proven track record.
Right.
So if you want to value someone that's proven that they can provide that service for the project on the grant, give them an extra point, or do you not want to do that? So I think that's just for y'all to decide.
Yeah.
I would rather give folks that have been operating in the community and with a proven track record. I mean, if it's 1 point, I don't think that like a brand new, but like super awesome nonprofit is going to necessarily lose out on the grant money over 1 point. But I do think that, we should pay homage to those who have been fighting the good fight in our community.
It might be also worth sharing that while I think the scoring process is going to be very important and help you view the applications based on what you're looking for in a grant.
Sure.
The board and it's specifically stated in the process that the board is not tied to the recommendation of the committee in the scoring. And so, and it is common, this happens with PARTIF. So PARTIF is just understood that if you score in the top 10 projects, then yeah, your project's probably going to get funded. But then the remaining 10 to 15, there's going to be some flexibility because that's not just based on direct score, because you want to make sure that you're spreading the projects across. And so there's still going to be that opportunity for y'all, if that makes you feel a little bit better about that process, where you could take that into consideration as a board.
The one thing that I didn't notice, and I think I probably just missed it, was verbiage that if you acquire, like, say, a $1,000 grant, you cannot then also go for a $5,000 grant. Like, you get one opportunity, you'll get one grant awarded in a fiscal year. Did I miss that somewhere?
I don't think we specifically stated that. I think that was the intent, but we can make that very clear.
Yeah.
We can add that language to make it clear. I can bring that
Yeah,
change back
I would
to
love
you,
to
no
have
problem.
that in there.
Yeah, because then maybe next year or the next time we do it, we could eliminate, people that have been more established would. Yeah,
Yeah.
I like that.
So I want to be clear that change you're looking for is you want organizations to only be eligible to receive a strategic plan grant once per fiscal year.
Yeah.
Okay.
Any other questions, comments? And I'm sure if we have some, we can pass those along to Director Long and staff.
Really good draft. Like,
Yeah,
it was really
yeah.
great. Yeah.
I think we're on the right track here. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheila.
Questions?
Chris Kringle, Chris Parade update.
I really don't have anything structured really to say tonight. We did send out a pretty comprehensive list of activities that have been ongoing on this past Friday and stuff. Clearly, Sheila was a very big piece in implementing that or a memo that went out to y'all. So basically tonight, we just wanted to come in front of you, answer any questions you may have, and try to get any additional guidance you'd like to give us. So basically, we're ready to take some questions if you have anything.
So I know that we have been told that we have about somewhere in the 20s as far as applicants to participate in the parade. Has that number changed, and what is our goal for this? Because I know that right now that's a little bit low. And then what type of entrance are you still looking for? Like, do we have 0 dance troops? Do we need another band? Could you shed some light there?
Yes. So I was trying to get Right Desk to load on my phone to see if there had been any new today. But I want to say off the top of my head, we're at 32 registered parade entries. In addition to that, 10 to 12 other, I call them entries, but they're like town-based elements or entertainment items that we added because we really heard from the community when we did community engagement that they want this to be very, very family friendly. They want to be entertained. And we want to balance some expectation, because we also heard that the community wasn't really interested in the professional floats, that they weren't as local-based, and, but there's still going to be that expectation of that parade feel that sometimes you got with the professional floats that were included. And so what we are looking to do is provide some of those surprise elements that you would not have had in Zebulon in the past that will take the place of some of the former expectations of like a professional float. Marching bands, it doesn't matter what community you're in, booking marching bands is extraordinarily difficult, and there's an expectation that you have a lot of them at parades for it to be exciting. The reality is you're not going to get a lot. The reality is these are students that are organized by teachers and other staff, and there are plenty of parades and other activities going on, and it's just a very busy time of year. And so they have to pick and choose where they go. We have not had an active Christmas parade consistently since 2019. And so we are not on the radar for area schools. So we try to think broader, not just look at our area high schools. We even tried colleges, even if we could get a drum line. We tried to get extraordinarily creative. We have booked a drum line. They're very entertaining. They're good. We enjoy them. They'll also be at Candy Cane Lane, and off the top of my head, the Silky Smooth drum line. So we're really looking forward to having them. We are bringing Stilt Walker. We've got Disney princesses that will be able to engage. They'll even be able to perform because we are adding performance stop where we're just trying to create more of that excitement around what's going on. And so they'll be able to perform at that stop, but they're going to interact with the kids. Some of these entertainment acts will even stay for the after party that we'll do for a little while. Santa will stay for the after party and visit with our kids. We're really excited to be able to book a Santa because he gets really busy this time of year. So we're so glad that Santa was able to join us. And I'm trying to think if I missed anything else.
Need bagpipers.
So your bagpipers have been extraordinarily busy. They have been competing and doing very well, and they are tired and have been asking for a break. Oh. So we actually will not have bagpipers this year to ring in our holiday season. But we've been so fortunate to have them at many of our events, and so if they've asked for a break, we can be respectful if they need it. So.
But you did tell them this time only, right?
We can try.
All right, great. Mm-hmm.
So entry closing date has already been met, is that correct? Or it's just kind of open for a while?
So if you want to be in the parade, please tell us as soon as possible. Okay, because the parade is 2 weeks away, and next week is Thanksgiving. So we really have a week. And in that week, we are in the nitty-gritty having to communicate safety protocols and everything else to participants. That's something we have to take very seriously. And there'll be a safety meeting. There'll have to be safety inspections. There's just a lot of moving pieces that have to be involved. And so we are planning our layout next week. We always plan ahead, and just there's going to be some last-minute people that might be, really exciting to have in the parade. So we have a great mixture of current parade entries. I think with the shortened route and the changed route, I think it's going to end up being really nice. We're probably going to be around 50, was just a little bit smaller, but we knew that going into the parade that we were planning for a little bit smaller. One, the park can't handle the amount that we've had in the past in a safe manner, and so we want to be able to do that. Better, that process better. And I think we have a great mix of kids participating. We've got cheerleaders, dance troops. We've got some churches that are going to have their kids singing as they walk. So I think we're going to have a nice mix.
Have all of the applicants so far been notified or not yet?
Everyone was called this week or emailed or both. So I think we had, I looked at the list, there were maybe 5 parade entries yesterday that did not respond back to their email, and we were having to find another phone number to call them because the one that we had down didn't work. So they were working on that today. And if you registered yesterday or today, you may not have gotten a call. But I do know when we met yesterday with SP3, they had called everyone the day before.
Were there any that were not selected to participate?
No. Yeah, we've had no reason not to include everybody that's submitted. Mm-hmm.
I know everyone watches the news and they see where
Raleigh waived it.
Raleigh has got this this waiver. Can we speak on any of that? Is that all legal?
Well,
Yeah, let me answer. Yeah. I saw that today, Mayor. I mean, you know, when that tragedy happened in Raleigh, it changed a lot for parades. And so I think a lot of municipalities are looking at it closely. You know, the best way, one of the best ways to protect against liability for any entity is to have someone sign a piece of paper that says, if XYZ happens, I won't pursue you. And I don't know what their waiver says, but that becomes a decision of the entity. And so it's something the town could consider, and there's certainly, it's certainly a very live issue down the road. I just saw that story today.
I think it just came out today, actually.
You did.
I think I saw it too as well. So I think it just came out today.
yeah.
Go ahead.
I will add to what Sam said. So we are, just trying to think of the best way to word this. We have worked extraordinarily hard in a short period of time to build solid safety plans for this parade that reflect the community and the capacity of our community. If we don't have the capacity to do certain things, we have found or identified the support that we needed to be able to help us in those areas so that we can do the best job that we can. We are, as we had a plan to communicate with our parade entries for the inspection process and the final guidelines, and the waiver was discussed by our group. I hear myself echoing. The waiver or the issue of the waiver that I believe you're referencing, we discussed as a team yesterday with a plan to circle in with legal, which they haven't heard from me yet because we've been very busy with Candy Cane Lane. But they'll hear from me now and then again and tomorrow morning. Hey, Sam. And we want to just make sure that we protect the town, but we also protect the individuals that are in the parade, and that everybody takes safety seriously. And I think that's the positive side of a waiver. While it does protect the town, it also brings forward the significance of participating, and it just brings that extra safety awareness. So we intend to take a look at it and work with legal to just make sure if that is something we need to make an adjustment to or do differently before the week that inspections are done. Does that make sense? Okay.
Thank you. Any other questions, comments? Yeah, I know this is a lot, just, Candy Cane Lane, and then right around the corner is the parade, but we appreciate the staff's efforts in trying to pull these events off. Thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you, Sheila.
Next. Visioning consultants.
Commissioners, good evening. So I'd like to brief you on this. I've heard from a number of you a desire to have a strategy session, a retreat at some point, concurrently with your search for a long-term town manager. And so prior to me arriving, there was a proposal on the table by Fountain Works, I believe. I'm not sure that that was presented to you, but we also were able to secure 2 additional proposals. So you can compare. And they all almost have pretty much the idea of engaging all of you, the entire board, but also engaging staff. They vary from having a 1-day retreat with all of you to 2 days maximum. There's a number of them that really will include interviewing you on a one-on-one basis and also bringing you all together to have a conversation. So what I shared with you, an email previously, basically said that depending on your preference, whether you want a half-day session or you want a full-day session or a day and a half or 2 days, those pricing could be adjusted by the respective consultants. But I wanted to bring this to you. You do not have to make a decision tonight. That's why we're not making any recommendations to you, but it's something you may want to consider as to what do you envision for a retreat. Is it a half-day, fully engaged session, or a full-day, fully engaged session, or a 2-day engaged session? There's some differentiators between all of these consultants, but they also have similarities in terms of they engage all of you, but there's one that will really talk a lot about how high-performing council as well as how cities can be well-run. There are some that will interview some department heads just to kind of get a sense from what they're hearing from the community in addition to interviewing you. And then there's another one that talks about design sprint, which is really more about not just having a retreat with you, but having some practical rolling up the sleeves type of engagement. But all of this will be public to the community when you do choose to do that. So you have dream builders, you have Fountain Works, like I said, and you also have D.W. Wilson as people who have indicated providing this type of facilitation for you. Of course, depending on what you do, regardless rather of what you do, it will require a budget amendment. I think the lowest cost here is about $17,000, and then the highest cost is $32,000, and then the middle one is about $25,000. So I'll stop unless there's any particular question for me, but I think that what you have here, pretty much almost the same thing except for a few differentiators here and there. Thank you.
Any questions, comments?
So with this visioning, there's this strategy element, but this is not us reviewing our strategic plan. I just wanted to make sure that that was clearly understood.
Right. No.
Okay.
This is you working on your strategic vision for the future of your town.
Okay, great. Thank you.
Thank you for that. That's good clarification.
Next, insurance benefits, Commissioner Baxter.
Yes. So in reviewing the benefits package, the insurance benefit package for the employees for next year. I know that we were told that we're under the budgeted amount as far as the increase of the insurance plan, and that the plans were staying the same. And hearing that, I assumed, and that is on me, I made an assumption that that would mean no further cost increase to the employees. But if I'm reading the insurance renewal charts correctly, there actually is going to be an increase with Plan A that I was not anticipating, and it looks like it is an increase of 23, pardon me, let me find it. An additional 26.31 per pay period, or 52.61 per month. And so help me understand that a little bit, because in years past, and what I think our employees have come to expect, is that they will receive either Plan A or that Plan A will be fully covered for them as long as they participate in the wellness plan. And then it used to be that Plan B, the one that had the little bit higher deductibles, but was cheaper overall for families, and or if you're covering your children, or if you're just covering your spouse, that that one would cost less. And that's just not what I'm reading. Am I reading this incorrectly, or is there going to be a cost to the employees?
You're right in the wrong.
Okay, good. Help me understand it.
Plan B is, there is no change.
Correct.
So the way that it worked last year and the way it's going to work this year is if you do not participate in wellness, you get Plan B.
If you don't participate in wellness, you get Plan B.
Well, there's no charge. Plan B is what the town pays for at no cost to the employee, period. If the employee participates in wellness, they get a $50 credit that they can use towards other things, whether it be they get gift cards to purchase things like anything that's wellness related. If you are participating in the wellness program, there's a $50 credit. And that is no different than what it was last year. No changes. So for Plan A, last year, if you did not participate, if you chose Plan A and you did not participate in wellness last year, it cost you $50.
Per pay period?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
It cost you. And so this year, with the increase in the insurance pricing, what we did is that we would pay for Plan B exactly the way we have. In Plan A, what we did is that if you participate in wellness, you will get a $26 credit to that. It is an actual buy-up plan. So the employee is choosing to get a higher insurance policy with less deductibles and lower out-of-pocket rates than you would for Plan B.
So was Plan B what was offered last year then, and not Plan A?
We offered both last year, but last year, if you participated in wellness, there was no cost to be in the plan, but you had to participate in wellness.
So you could be in Plan A with no additional cost. And this year, there's still going to be additional cost even if you participate in the wellness.
$26 a month.
$26, could you take a look at that? Because the way it reads in here, it's $26 twice a month. So I just want to make sure that I'm understanding that.
Correct, sorry. $26 a pay period is what I meant to say, not a month.
Okay.
Instead of $100 instead of $50 a pay period.
And if they participate in wellness, they get less of a,
They get the same $50 credit.
Okay.
That someone in Plan B. It's the same credit.
okay,
It's just the cost of the insurance went up enough that we did not want to adversely affect the employees on Plan B or people that had spouse or employees with children, families, and that kind of thing. So what we did, we made Plan A an actual buyout plan. If you want the higher level of coverage, you have to pay for it either way.
but we still received, like, what, was it $10,000 for a wellness program? Okay. Are we able to use that $10,000 to help buy down the amount that we would have to take out of everyone's paycheck if they chose Plan A?
We've already done that.
So this is like, we have,
Already included.
so we have $0 left for the plan.
We don't have any additional money to put towards that will make it sustainable. Okay.
And then we had budgeted for a 10% increase, correct? And we came under budget with an 8% increase. Did we run the numbers as to what we would be able to actually provide in that Plan A for our employees if we were to use what we budgeted and not take that 2% realization? Because I think that one of the things that is really so special about our town and what attracts really great employees is the fact that we have been able to offer our plans at no cost to the employee historically. And if we could get as close to that as possible, I think that that would be super valuable. And I'm not sure if this is like too late in the game to be able to run some numbers and see if we could make that happen. But I think that probably we could, since the money's already been budgeted for, and it's not like it has to, you know, like this is outside of what the insurance company, like what we've negotiated with the insurance company, correct?
That would be a Bobby question as far as how this is played out and whether that would be enough money to do anything with.
Well, I mean, like even if we could take that $26 a pay period and reduce it to $20 a pay period, I think that's less of a bite, because I do think that we've got folks that, you know, one of the reasons why they love working for us and one of the reasons why they are attracted to apply for our town is that we have that as a benefit for the employees. So could we take a look at that?
So, but you have to understand, it wouldn't just be for Plan A. Whatever you do for Plan A, you have to do for Plan B, which is for every employee. So when you make that adjustment, if you're going to give more benefit to people in Plan A, you have to give that same benefit to the people in Plan B. So it wouldn't just be $5 or, you know, 2% that you're looking at just for the people in Plan A. You're going to have to put it across everything so that it's equitable between all the employees.
Like for us moving forward to have this discussion a little bit earlier. I know that sometimes it's hard when you're talking about going out into the market, getting those numbers back in a timely fashion. But if there are ways for us to make this plan better for our employees overall, I'd like for us to do that. And even if it means that, if we've got 2% to work with, and it means that our employees that choose Plan B actually like get an extra $20 in their paycheck so that it's $20 less, and you know that the other employees have to come out of their paycheck, I think that that would be meaningful, and I think that it would probably be appreciated. So if we could take that into consideration moving forward and like have more of the discussion of the nuts and bolts, that's how I would like things to work, but I'm willing to, of course, open that discussion up to everybody on the board. if they have thoughts.
I mean, we're willing to look at it, I'm not saying we aren't, I'm just wanting to make sure it was clear that it wouldn't just be for the people on Plan A, it would be for all the employees.
You go, which one? You good?
Yeah, I just want to make sure that if our employees have worked here for years with us paying for their, for their personal benefits in their entirety, that we should try our hardest to do that moving forward.
Well, there's one option that you can always look at and think about for next year, that if, right now we pay for people that opt out, that no longer paying for people that opt out, to use that money towards the insurance for those that choose to take the insurance with the town.
And this is all still through the self-pay option, correct?
Pardon me?
This is still through the self-pay like we've done in last year, the self-pay option?
You mean self-funded?
Thank you,
We're
self-funded.
level funded, we're not self-funded.
Okay,
Which is different, it's kind of a half and half, we get a little bit more information that way. It's not based on level funded, it's based on, traditionally, since I've been here, that if you opted out of insurance, you got the same amount of money or percentage of the premium.
so we might be able to work with what that number is in order to be able to.
No longer pay for people that opt out and use that towards those that stick with the insurance with the town to offset the cost.
Okay, awesome, thank you so much.
You're welcome.
See, Bev, I wasn't trying to make any big changes.
Comments? Thank you. Next, closed session.
Before we do that, Mayor, since we're still in the meeting, can I please ask the manager to kind of loop in our planning director with any kind of additional bond, like bond deconstructions? I think it would be helpful since
Oh,
he's.
yes, absolutely. Yes.
Wonderful.
So it will be the planning director, Bobby, Director Ray. Yes, so you will.
All right, fantastic, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, ma'am.
As allowed per General Statute 143-318.11, Deacon Development Group versus Town of Zebulon, and to consult with the attorney to preserve client privilege.
Motion that we go into closed session.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. And prior to going into closed session, we want a five, excuse me?
We're gonna vote.
All in favor? Motion passed. 5-minute recess.